So the last video we finished sort of making this relaxed mesh and breaking it into strips, unrolling them, and then where we were right now is trying to figure out how we can get these strips sort of on a 2D plane so that we can use them for fabrication. And this is sort of building from a script that Daniel Piker wrote for doing just this. So we can explode these meshes and try to get some information out of them. So if we look at, say, a list item where we can get basically the start and the end face on each one of those. So for that we can get a face normal. So that should give us a point, but also a normal direction of that. We can get the face normal from the other side as well. Now we should be able to build a plane from a normal. So I'm gonna take say the center point in this Z direction and build a plane right there. And then I'm gonna get a vector basically along that line that I can align this plane to. So I can get a vector from 2 points. So from this center point to that center point. And then I can align that plane. So this plane in this direction. Turn all of this stuff off so we can kind of see it. So what that should do is give me a relatively orthogonal plane to that. So if I take the bounding box of those meshes, actually the bounding box of the original meshes, we use these as planes. Now let's graph this. Okay. So then we get a kind of a plane for each one of those. So we know the plane. Now we should be able to sort of map it to the XY plane in some way. So let's get a point on this. If I get the box corners from this, we'll get just the lower left one. Make a new plane at the origin there. And we'll use that as a reorient. So orient this geometry from this plane to the XY plane. So now we should have everything in 2D now, flat on there. And if you wanted to, you can look at each one independently. The list item. $24 of these. Now that in itself, we should be able to scroll through and see each one of these individually. Now we can see if that's inside of our print box, of a laser cutter, or a CNC machine. And that would allow us to set up pretty easy to manage files for that. Now we could also spread them out if we wanted to. We could take this box and explode it or deconstruct it. That'll give us some information about how big that box is. So if we can say deconstruct the domain in the Y direction, that'll give us how wide it is. So if we were to subtract these two, we would say each one of these has a specific width. That's how wide it is. Now let's flatten these, and you have the total width of all of them combined, right? So let's mass add all of these together. So we have, this is how wide all of them would lay out. So if we say a unit X direction, and we'll move these, or move a, let's move a plane out that far. So I'm going to say XY plane. Now, for each one of these, we want to add them up sequentially. So instead of having the final resultant, the partial results are each one added to the initial number. So we should end up with several things to move. That gives us the plane that we can then map individually to our final result. So let's look at that. Oh, let's make this a Y direction instead. So we've gone through and we've gotten the width of each one. We've added it each time so that we could lay these out independently. Now they shouldn't cross because their bounding boxes are now next to each other. So you should be able to see all of them laid out. This is going to be the the cut sheets, if you will, of these unrolled members. And they should be able to roll back up into this object if you make them right. I think that's it. Thanks.